Fostering connection through vulnerability, the People Pleaser podcast validates struggles, celebrates growth, and inspires positive change. Together, let's embrace authenticity, challenge patterns, and evolve with compassion. Welcome. It's Corie, your host, and this is the People Pleaser podcast. Y'all, I have had a really long day, and I am coming to you at the very end of it. And so if I'm feeling or sounding a little tired, it's because I am. I have just got my ass handed to me these past few days working at a restaurant, and I worked 3 back-to-back breakfast shifts that started at 6:45 in the morning and went until after 3 o'clock. And here in Port Townsend, it has been the Wooden Boat Festival, which is just the biggest event the town has every year. And it is the busiest weekend that this restaurant experiences. So I started last weekend, which was Labor Day, another really busy one. And so worked last weekend and this weekend. And I'm bagged. I'm absolutely bagged. I think that things are slowly catching up to me with just being exposed to so many new experiences, retaining so much new information, the physical labor of just the move and setting up the house. And so I'm not at all surprised that I'm tired, but today I had a day off and I just couldn't really regain any type of energy. I was in sloth mode all day. But even with that, I had a job interview this morning, so I wasn't a complete zombie. I did pull it together, but then after that, I was like, oh my God, those were my last little morsels of energy. And I am learning how to balance my master's program. That's another big energy, a source that needs my energy. I was about to say energy sucker, and I'm trying to be a little bit more positive on that front because it is a choice. It is something that I'm excited to be doing, but while I am just kind of cracking into it, it's more tiring and kind of draining than it is exciting at this point. And I'm confident that will change, but right now I'm navigating a new online platform where all my schoolwork is being presented. I'm engaging in online discussions where I have to actually back up all my discussions, like all the things I'm talking about with the week's readings. There's a ton of reading, and the reading spans between websites and video and textbooks and articles. So my mind is literally in a million places at once, and it's getting to me a little bit. So I do want to talk today about my job search, my work experience so far in a new city, in a new country. And because I'm back to the service industry and I'm back working in a restaurant, I've noticed that I've had these little flare-ups of, oh God, I forgot about this part of the industry. And I definitely noticed that some of my people-pleasing tendencies was reignited. And yeah, so I just kind of want to walk you through that and just bring light to being new in a job and what that can kind of do to our mental health, what type of behaviors can kind of surface, and what people pleasing can look like in that environment. So moving here, my goal in terms of employment was that I wanted to break into the community. I wanted to find a job that was social, that got me out of the house, that was fun, that wasn't too serious. And for those of you that don't know, I've built a career in working with youth, in particular youth mental health. And so I really had a great job before I moved, and it was the highest earning job that I'd ever had. And like full disclosure, I was making like $42 an hour. And that was like noteworthy, especially in the nonprofit world. That was an accomplishment, and I was really proud of that. And it was allowing me to have a bit of wiggle room in my finances. It was also a job that I was utilizing my undergrad, and my undergrad was like really well recognized in my field, in my city, in my province, in my country. And that degree is a Bachelor of Child and Youth Care. Now, moving to the States, I was really making an intention to build my community, make friends, knowing that I was going to be not just new to this city, but also in an online master's program. I thought that it could be really worthwhile to just ease into work mode. I knew that I wanted to work part-time, and I was just a little bit reluctant to dive into my field again because it can be social, but I have had a really difficult time bringing my work friendships from that field into like out of work friendships. And I don't know if that's just because of the nature of our work. We're all burnt out. We don't want to talk about work once we leave work. It's sort of serious in nature, so you don't always see people's personalities and sense of humors, or I don't quite know why I didn't necessarily make a ton of friends, like outside of work friends with my work friends, but I knew that being in Port Townsend, I just was feeling this pull towards something a little bit more social. And before I'd even moved here, I'd sort of dreamed about working in a coffee shop or in a restaurant because I do have experience in those types of jobs. And so right off the bat, I got here and I didn't have a social security number. So I had to wait for that to come through in order to actually be legally permitted to work in the United States. So once I got that in my hand, I did set out with my resume, and I did apply online just through like a Craigslist ad, I think, for a coffee shop, the coffee shop that I really like here, but I didn't hear back. I applied to the health authority for a job online as well, and I didn't hear back. And I, at that point, didn't really have the courage to like set out with a face-to-face follow-up. I just was like really breaking into the job search. And beyond that, I dropped off a resume at a little local grocery store. That's this like really cute, like kind of gourmet grocery store. They also have like a built-in coffee shop and kind of like a boutique-y grocery store. And they told me that they would take my resume, but that they weren't actually doing any hiring at the moment. I then applied to a restaurant that I'd been to before and really liked. And she essentially sat me down on the spot and offered me some training shifts. And that was like really a great boost to my confidence. And I was really excited. It's a really funky atmosphere, and I just felt really good about it. And then I don't know if it was like the day after or something like that, but I very soon after walked into the local YMCA here and was purely interested in their facilities. I wanted to look at the pool. I wanted to see what kind of gym options they had because I did go to the Y back home in Victoria, and I really loved the vibe. And next thing you know, I'm kind of getting pulled to talk to the manager of all their children's programs. They run an after school care program, and I think camps, and they have a early childhood center. And operations manager or whoever it was, she was just like really excited to meet me. And she's like, I got to introduce you to our manager of children's programs. And so we chatted, and he was like, oh my God, I think you would be great here. We've got like high hopes to roll out some youth programs, and I definitely need support in our after school care. And so he encouraged me to just like apply to any job online, and that would allow him to just like get me in the system, and then he could pull me in for an interview. So this all kind of happened like within the same couple of days, and I was like, oh my God, like I am killing it. This is really exciting. And so I started on Labor Day working at the restaurant, and I, felt really confident. I felt just excited to be around people. It's also a really great place to meet, like just the customers. They're a really good mix of locals and tourists, but as the tourist season dies down, it becomes, more of a local spot. And all the staff were like very welcoming, and the management team was like very excited to have me on board. So that happened, and I then also got a call to come in for an interview with the Y. So I'm gonna just break down these two experiences with the restaurant and the Y, and try to give you a bit of an idea of where I'm sitting with these ideas and these options, and how, like, where I'm struggling to make some decisions. So because the Y came out of like seemingly nowhere, and it almost felt like they were pitching me the job, that got my attention, and I got really excited about that. And so I was, like really curious of like, okay, they see something in me. They see me as an asset to their team, and I have relevant skills. So I also felt confident in my own skill set. I knew that I could land that job. Like I felt really good about it. Today I went into the interview, and the team, I was speaking with the manager and then the manager's manager. They are wonderful people. I really, really enjoyed the conversation that we had. I firmly believe in the programming that they are offering, but I was kind of nodding along and, like kind of setting myself up to like accept a job if they were to offer me one, by the way I was like, yes, I'm interested. Yes, this sounds great. Yes, I could see myself working. Like these were sort of the responses I was giving in my interview. But as soon as I walked out, I was like, that's just not the job for me. That's just like not at all what I envisioned for myself. And I kind of got swept up in the like, oh, this is so cool. Like my ego, I think, was actually what got really pumped and excited. But my brain was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Is this even a job you want? Or are you just excited that they like you and it was a good conversation? And I have been in those types of situations time and time again with all kinds of different situations, not just employment wise, but getting kind of swept up in the moment, being kind of that yes man, and then realizing, wait, I don't actually want that job, or I can't really see myself doing that long term. And the reasons that I have for not feeling like this would be a fit for me is one, the financial side of things. This position, they are looking for someone to work up to 40 hours, which I'm not actually available for 40 hours with my master's, or I don't really want to be available for 40 hours. And B, for the wage they are offering, 40 hours would quickly turn into resentment, because I'd be working my ass off. This is not the type of job that you can go in half-assed. Like, you are caring for children. It'd be overseeing a staff team. And it was just a little teeny weeny bit over half of what I was making in my last job. So like, I just thought between them ideally wanting someone 40 hours a week and for the wage they're offering, and not to forget that, like, I don't really want to work in this industry right now. Like, I don't really see that as meeting my needs in terms of like community and meeting people. Like, I mean, kids are great, but I'm not looking to like hang out with kids all day as my like main social outlet. So, I mean, I walked out of there being like, yes, like I'm very interested. And they're like, okay, we're going to deliberate and we're going to get back to you. And it all seemed like very promising. I'm not saying I got the job because I haven't been offered the position, but even still, like we were talking as if I did. We were getting into like the nitty gritty specifics of things. And I was giving them the impression that should they offer it to me, I would take it. And that's on me. Like, that is classic telling people what they want to hear. And ladies and gentlemen, friends and foes, that is people pleasing. And you know, I think there's also a piece of me just like wishing it was what I wanted, like wanting to be able to say yes, wanting to be like, yes, this is the job. I found it. That was so easy. It came to me. Bada bing, bada boom. I have a job. All is well. And that's just not really how things left off for me. Now, with the restaurant, it's a different set of circumstances. I am currently employed there. I do have a shift tomorrow. I have a shift on Thursday. They are in the process of training me to be a server. However, I felt absolutely broken in my body after working 3 days in a row. And that is just something that I don't really want to ignore. I'm at the place in my life that my body and my physical wellness is a priority, and I'm kind of lying to myself if I am acting like I'm fine with my feet hurting for 2 days after a shift. Like, that's not what I want for myself. The other aspect of things is that when I was a server in Victoria, we made our own tips. Like, we got to keep our own tips. We would have to tip out the kitchen and the support staff. And I think we did tip out a reasonable amount. Like, I think it was a fair division. However, we, kept a good chunk of our tips. And this is a place where not only is the wage like less than minimum wage, because that's what servers make, but it's a tip pool. And so, the tips aren't exactly the draw anymore, which for those of you who have worked in the service industry, like, how valuable tip money can be. And that is really, I think, the main reason people work in that industry. The other thing that is just like not fully sitting well with me is I don't really like how I am feeling with some of my interactions with management. And it's not that I am saying anyone is in the wrong. Like, I'm walking in as a new person, so I have to be so careful that I'm not coming in and like criticizing how this restaurant is being run. Like, I am in no position to do that. There's a ton of really happy people who work there, and they are a successful business. I, however, I think I'm just at the age and I have the skill set where I think I expect a certain amount of respect, and that's kind of a new realization for me. But I come in there and I am twice the age as most of the employees, and I think that comes with, I think that deserves a little bit of respect. Now, if I was brand new, like totally green, and needed just like constant coaching and training and if I was really asking for them to teach me how to do this job, I would understand that I would kind of be coming in just as anyone. However, I am very, I don't know, like you develop just this sense of like, I know my shit in this industry. Of course, there's nuanced things. Of course, there's how the ways they do things, but I'm pretty well equipped with just an ability to look around and assess needs. And what I've been finding is that there's been just an interesting way of giving feedback that does kind of have passive aggressive undertones. And there's a feeling of like nitpicking. And it's kind of like well, we do it this way, and therefore you're doing it wrong, even if the result is the same. Now, I, again, am not trying to like say that I'm right and they're wrong. It just might not be the right fit. And I think I came into it thinking like, yeah, there would be a little bit more respect. Now, that's not to say that anyone is treating me like poorly or maliciously and like my coworkers are absolute angels. But I'm maybe coming to the realization that I'm done with the restaurant industry. Now, I don't know. I don't know. There could be a restaurant out there that is the perfect fit for me, and that I wouldn't necessarily be having these same feelings. However, it's not that it's like enough for me to like be not wanting to go to work tomorrow. Like there's still something there for me, and I'm just still in the process of figuring out like, okay, is there enough there for me? Or am I like kind of grasping at straws? And again, like, is my ego playing into this? Like, oh, they want me there. I have a job. Like, do I just hang on to it because like I have it and I'd be silly to let it go? And I do think that is me leaning into a scarcity mindset. That's me leaning into fear and not trusting that there's something better for me out there. So that's been, yeah, it's been a lot to wrestle around with in my brain. And, it actually reminded me, and maybe this is why I'm feeling a little bit sensitive, is that I worked for the same restaurant for 12 years, but at about the midway point of that, I was actually fired. And I want to just share a little bit about that experience because I think it could be that experience that's playing into some of my feelings with this current experience. And so at that time, I had been working there for a good chunk of years, and they hired a new general manager. And we had a woman manager, and then we had a really kind male manager. And with both of them, there was great rapport, there was mutual respect. Like, you had to learn to work with them, and they obviously had different styles, but I felt respected as an employee. When they hired this new manager, and I'm going to freaking name drop him because I'm okay with that. His name was Roy, and he came in with this huge amount of arrogance, and he demanded this type of like respect, this type of almost like bow down to me type energy that like I immediately had my back up. Like I have a pretty good read on people, and this man just, I like my spidey senses were like, no, he is not a good dude, and he doesn't actually deserve your, like, whatever that's called, respect. I don't know. So I just kind of made that decision to just focus on doing a really good job at my job and just kind of steer clear. Now, different employees responded to him differently, and I noticed that some of my coworkers, they really tried to win him over and like get into his good graces really heavy on the people pleasing. And this was a time in my life where I'm like, you know what? Actually, no, I'm not going to be a people pleaser here because I don't respect this man. I don't like this man. He gives me the creeps. And that was really clear in my mind. Now, what ended up happening is he caught on to me not really drinking the Kool-Aid. And I just continued to work really hard, make great tips, be kind with to my coworkers, have great relationships, and just basically gave him the bare minimum. Like, I'm not doing anything wrong, but I'm not going out of my way for you. He started to nitpick. Literally, there was a day that he followed me all my shift all around the restaurant, hot on my heels and like pointing over my shoulder like, why didn't you do this? Shouldn't you do this? I remember there was this one example that I was packing up someone's food to go and he's like, why are you using that container and not this container? And I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I was about to burst into tears like all day because I was just like, I can't get this guy off my back. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And this is torture. I came into work one day. This is another example. And there was like a no jeans policy. You weren't allowed to wear jeans. I showed up wearing jeans. They were like high-waisted, cute, like very dark wash. And I had like a very cute little outfit on. And immediately he was like, you're wearing jeans. And because they were like this kind of dark wash, they were kind of this like fancier jean, I was kind of like, oh my God, like, shit, you're right. I'm wearing jeans. And he was about to send me home, and which is, extreme. And then I was like, oh my God, you know what? I just picked up clothes from the tailor and I have a pair of black pants. So even before the restaurant opened, even before anything happened, I was actually able to solve the problem. However, that day he called me up to his office and he fired me. And he told me that it was coming from the owner, which at that time I was just like so overwhelmed. I was so hurt and I was furious. I was so angry that I just walked out. I didn't question it. And I just like got a different job. Fast forward, I don't even know, like maybe a year, I go in finally to like see one of my friends working and have lunch. And I had learned that Roy had been fired. And that's not why I was there. That was just like happenstance. But I was sitting at the table eating and chatting with my friend. And the owner came up to me and said, Corie, oh my God, it's been forever. Like, why don't you work here anymore? We miss you. And I was like, well, Roy told me that you wanted me gone and he fired me. And it was all a lie. Roy totally lied to me. He blamed it on the owner. That never happened. And I ended up getting my job back, which, blah, blah, blah. It all worked out in the end. But now that I kind of have these feelings of being like nitpicked or like discredited, and that people are kind of challenging me on things that I'm doing a good job on, I think that some of that like residual trauma or, those bad experiences from my past with Roy are just kind of like flaring up. And I know that feeling of just being like doing your best, like doing your absolute best, and like people still finding something wrong. And I just I've been a manager, I've had a staff team, like I've, supported the development of different employees. And like, that is just not how I roll. And not that everybody is the same. And, like not that my way is the way, but I just know that I really respond well to like positive reinforcements, like these teachable moments, these approaches that like show like an understanding or a compassion of like, oh, okay, like I understand why you might have done that it that way, but we do it this way. And just like really leaning into communication and just like giving that person, me in this example, the benefit of the doubt. And nothing like really extreme has happened, but that's where my mind is going. It's just like, like, I don't know. I want to work in a really supportive and fun environment. I also don't want to break my body anymore. That is something I know for certain. So I have been really fortunate to be put into contact with somebody who could be a potential lead on other job prospects. I'm going to just keep, I guess, brainstorming a little bit more around like, what is it that I really want? Like, what is it that I see myself doing that balances well with my finances and like the financial needs that I have, my social needs, and like my needs to really prioritize my master's. And I know it's out there. And truthfully, like I haven't really had to work too hard to look for a job yet. So that is still that's still ongoing, and I definitely can put more energy into that. But I do think that there's definitely been a recurring theme of like when I'm new to somewhere, like when I'm like in a training like position where I'm like learning a new skill or learning a new team or learning a new method or whatever, I really do set high expectations of myself to like be perfect. And that may also be at play here. Like, me maybe taking some of the feedback a little bit too personally. And that is because I have these like really high expectations, and like any feedback is kind of like a knife to my heart. Like, oh, but I thought I was doing perfect and I'm working so hard to like do everything perfectly, even though I'm brand new here and there's no way I could possibly know everything yet. So I also want to put that out there as it's not all external. There's definitely some internal struggles going on as well. And I think the biggest piece for me right now is just seeking clarity on what are my needs and pursuing all future endeavors with those needs at the forefront. And as people pleasers, you can relate, I'm sure. We don't always put our needs first. We actually usually put our needs last and everybody else's needs first. So especially when you're looking for a job and someone's like, oh my God, you're a great candidate. Oh my God, we need someone like you. Oh my God, like, can you start tomorrow? It's like, yes, yes, yes. Like, I want to help you. I want to be of service. I want to like be the solution to your problem. And then next thing you know, you're like, wait, this isn't what I wanted at all. And there's a whole bunch of things missing from the criteria that I set out, but then I immediately neglected and forgot about. So this will be something that I keep you posted on. I'm sure there's lots of learning to come, and hopefully lots of different job ideas and prospects, and just, new opportunities to lean into like what my needs are and how to speak to them and how to have boundaries and how to say, I could do this, but not that. Or say, actually, this isn't working for me. And actually, that wage isn't enough for me. And actually, those hours don't work for me. And actually, my body isn't up for this challenge, even though I really want it to be. It's just not. Well, now I'm awake. That brought me back to life. But I do think it's a good place to end. I really appreciate you listening. I really appreciate those of you who are tuning in for the whole journey that is my life. And I know that I've taken a bit of I've strayed a little bit from just specifically people-pleasing content, but I think you get it. I think it's all relevant to just the human experience and all the ups and downs of life. So thank you so much for being here, and I will talk to you soon. Once again, this is Corie with the People Pleaser Podcast. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast. And if you liked what you heard, please consider leaving a 5-star rating and a review on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can find daily content from me on both Instagram and TikTok. Thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you on the next episode.